So next we have an entrepreneurship spotlight on the Vanderbilt Fusion Project. So Nora Ankrum will be the Strategic Communications Manager at Good Energy Collective. We'll be talking with B. Thomas Edman, the CTO of Vanderbilt Fusion Project. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, we're here with an undergraduate student from Vanderbilt who, with a group of students, built a nuclear fusion reactor. And starting with that, first I want to say, like, what? You built a reactor. You're now a senior, right? And so, like, on the range of like building a piece of IKEA furniture to building this nuclear fusion reactor, what does that take and what does it mean? What did you guys build and create?
Mm-hmm. So when we entered Vanderbilt, we all came from a rather underprivileged background and wanted to really take advantage of all the support, all the technology, and all the opportunities around us. So we were sitting in a dorm my freshman year and we thought, what's something crazy we can do to leave a mark on this campus? And someone settled on the idea of a fusion reactor and we all laughed it off. And then we kind of looked into it and realized that there were patents we could work with, funding we could get, people we could talk to. And 4 years later, we have a fully functioning prototype. We're doing our nitrogen plasma testing as we speak. And we've built an undergraduate org of over 50 members ranging across 20 different majors. And we just kind of I guess you could say, redefined the context of the undergraduate ambition.
That was a really good answer. So first I want to find out more about what you guys created, and then I want to find out more, like, the technology. But then I also want to hear more about this experience you had as an undergraduate and building this kind of effort and the relationships and skills that went into that. So tell me about the reactor a little bit. What does it do? What is the significance of it technologically?
Yeah, so we perform what's called inertial electrostatic confinement fusion. So inside the Helios Mark I shell, we have a 99% transparent tungsten grid that we energize to negative 50,000 volts. We send into deuterium gas, which is immediately ionized and accelerates into the center, and they begin to fuse. So what we've built is a variation of a fuser. What we've done that's novel is we've created an entirely self-contained system that is transportable, mobile. We have absolutely ramped up the scope of automation and control in the context of a fusion environment. And we have focused on improving safety and accessibility of our system to amplify its research merit.
And how many people do you have in the Vanderbilt Fusion Project? How many students?
We currently are above 50 students, but with our graduation, that will move to over 100 alums.
Oh, wow.
Who enter careers ranging from banking to PhDs to finance.
And so tell me a little bit about, think of this in like a 4-year timeline, right? So freshman year, sitting around.
Yeah.
And then what year did you guys actually complete the build?
Mm-hmm. So the first year primarily consisted of design and then ordering, along with, of course, fundraising. But we were fortunate to receive the Vanderbilt Sesquicentennial Grant as the only undergraduate team awarded so, as well as private donations from Board of Trustees and numerous other stakeholders. We then spent the next 2 years receiving parts, assembling, and working on our licensing applications. So we finally completed assembly about a year ago and were capable of being up and running, and then spent the last year, like most engineers know, getting permission to turn it on.
Oh, and I should tell everybody what you're studying.
Yes, so I'm a senior, but I triple major in computer engineering, math, and philosophy with honors.
And you love logic.
I love logic. It does not love me.
He really likes writing proofs, he says. Just kidding. So, and so now you're actually in the phase where you're able to kind of see what some applications are with this crazy thing you guys built. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So that's the thing you're going to get often asked over 3 years is, what do you do once you graduate? We've not only built a legacy organization to continue using it as a platform for engineering projects, but we've also developed partnerships with numerous research groups who can use it in the context of microelectronics radiation testing or medical isotope production, as well as just general high voltage physics experiments.
Mm-hmm. And you were talking about this hair dryer?
I think you were talking about a hair dryer.
True.
I was talking about an ion gun.
Tell them about the ion gun.
Yeah, so for instance, one project that we've already designed and are waiting to receive and assemble is an ion gun. So like I said, when deuterium gas enters the chamber, the electric field strips some of its electrons. One way that you can improve the efficiency of this type of reactor is that the particles are already ionized before you get in there. So as Nora suggested, it is literally called an ion gun, and it looks like a gun that shoots ions.
It's like my hairdryer. So there's a lot of great questions, and I kind of feel like we should try to give you guys a chance to ask some questions as well. But I want to hear more about this, this group of students that you worked with and how this came about. So tell me a little bit more about that origin story. Like, what was the scope of this let's do something crazy conversation that you ended up at build a nuclear fusion reactor?
Mm-hmm. So our ethos through the duration of our time with VFP has been innovation that inspires. What we wanted to do was create a place where undergraduates and administrators can interact for a real-world problem and solution. And we've tried to structure our organization in such a way that anyone can walk in with ambition and idea and have some way to direct that effort into what we're doing. So we have a large number of entrepreneurs who aren't particularly interested in nuclear, but now they're in an engineering decision-making environment. Or likewise, we'll have clean energy advocates who want to pursue careers in policy, and now they get to walk into interviews saying they built a nuclear reactor.
Yeah, do you have a number of how many disciplines are represented among your group?
22 majors and 4 colleges.
Oh, wow. And do you guys have fights over who's I don't know, do you translate well things from one discipline to another? What are some dimensions of that to talk about?
In terms of translating, yes, it's not as bad as you might suggest, because we have a very concrete underlying ethos and design that everyone becomes very familiar with. The difficulty is, a project like this, you are constantly teaching yourself new things, identifying new advisors to help you solve these problems, and your expertise very much becomes a question at times, especially when you have a complex situation like a verification went poorly, or we have a new concern that we have to address in terms of documentation. Mm-hmm. So that very much has been a unique experience I don't think many other undergrads get.
Yeah, did you have a point earlier in this where someone was like, you guys are nuts? Or did you feel like you were able quickly to get the resources you needed? And do you have any stories from that?
We had that very often, and we continue to have it very often. So we are constantly under question about our safety and our reports. And in reality, we have over hundreds of pages of publishable materials on our analysis. And I made the comment to you earlier that we actually designed our system so that its radiation profile is less than a vintage watch. And we actually toured the Nettle reactor last year as invited guests, and they have sensors that sense your radiation when you leave. And one of our members was wearing a vintage watch and set it off. So we did the math on the plane home.
So this is a group that does math on planes and on freshman year hangs out and hatches crazy plans about nuclear fusion reactors. So I think we have a little more time. I want to make sure, does anyone have any questions for Thomas? Dr. Korgel has a question.
Where? Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas, for talking to us today. It's really interesting. So what do you think the key bottlenecks are for commercial fusion based on your experience? So there's a lot of folks who think it's going to happen, some folks who are skeptical. So if you had to identify, 2 or 3 of the key technical bottlenecks that may make it not possible based on your experience, what would those be?
There's 2, and one is more sentimental and the other is actually structural. The first is, despite fusion and fission being such distinct technologies and operating so differently, they are so easy to confuse the words with. And that might not be very difficult when you're a scientist, but when you're dealing with investors, foreign stakeholders, that fact becomes increasingly sensitive. And the second is structural, and it is quite literally just the supply chains to facilitate superconducting magnets. When you see any emerging deep tech technology, there are so many questions about, one, its ability to be engineered, and then second, its ability to achieve a commercial bottom line. And a lot of the time, the answer just lies in the establishment of supply chains. I mean, we could talk about the history of computing in IBM in the 50s and then talk about silicon and the lithium triangle in South America. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you. Do we have a minute for another question? That's fine. Yeah, we do. I think I saw someone, was it you? Did you have a question? Yeah.
So what are your plans after graduation? Are you going to continue with the Fusion Project, or are you moving into a different field?
I think I'm going to take a nap. It's been a long undergraduate experience. So my background is actually in quantum and advanced computing. So I plan on moving in that direction, hopefully relaunching my venture Alexandrian, which is interested in how you include neuromorphic and quantum systems into existing stacks.
I'm curious, unless anyone else, are there any other questions actually? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm actually curious, how do you do your time management? I mean, how do you do 3 majors and your projects? Like, how do you spend your days? Like, it's really impressive everything you've done and you're doing and going to do. So I'm curious if you have time management strategies
There's
to
maybe
share.
2 answers. One is don't try to reinvent the wheel. One thing that has enabled my work is being able to find these connections across different fields. My work with the Fusion Project exposed me firsthand to HPC and modeling bottlenecks. And then again, just my experience in entrepreneurship with the Fusion Project opened that door up for me. And the third is I highly encourage you to recognize that institutions, organizations, academia are networks of people, and people check their emails and sometimes they don't, and people have opinions, and you can work with them and you can meet them where they're at. So I think that's probably been the biggest reality is I've always leaned very heavily on my advisors and built personal relationships, and have on numerous occasions walked into an office and said, this is what I'm trying to do. How do you think I should do it?
Great. I feel like we could squeeze one more in if we. Yeah, good. Okay, I have a question real quick. So, so you were able to kind of build this, but now most of the folks in it are leaving.
Yes.
So how do you make sure that this keeps building and doesn't just die when with the next cohort?
Yes, so we actually just completed our first succession. So CTO might have been a little generous up there. The second is, even though we're an undergraduate-led group, we are heavily embedded in the organization, or the university at this point. Our banner hangs in our engineering hall, and our chancellor often mentions our work at fundraising events. So we do have a PI who does research in this area, and we have a very well split in our organization across each class. So.
Cool. Well, everybody come talk to him in the break because he has lots of interesting things to say. All right. Thank you, guys.